Thanks for joining us on the John Mendola Show. We're driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers. Let's talk Wilkes University basketball. Jerry Rickrode. He decides to go in a different direction. He's been at Wilkes since June of 1992. And, Jerry, we go back to the early 90s, and then sometimes as you get older, it's a little bit of a blur. But I'm sure you remember that time in your life when you made the decision to come to Wilkes University.
Yeah, I talk about that often. Certain things stand out in your life, and you reflect on those quite a bit. When I was an assistant at Ithaca College, I remember applying for 2 jobs and interviewing for 2 jobs in the same week. And one of them was the Wilkes job. I was hoping that I got that one. And Vice President of Academic Affairs, Mike Lennon, called me up one afternoon in Ithaca and said, "Listen, Jerry, you've emerged as the person that we want to offer this job to. This is what the job pays and so forth, and we'll give you 24 hours or so to make a decision." And I waited a couple seconds and I said, "You know what, Mike? I think I'm going to take the job." So I really wanted it. And I had known some people in the profession that were already head coaches in the MAC and so forth. And, they had called me up and encouraged me to apply. But, they said at that time, get the job. It'd be great head coaching experience. But, get it going, maybe get to 500 and then, move on, because I don't think you can really win there consistently. So, one thing led to another, and we, snowballed, and we got it going. And I had no ties to the area, even though I grew up in the Harrisburg area. Didn't know a lot of people around here. What impressed me the most is how the people in the Wyoming Valley, Luzerne County, they just welcomed myself and my family, and it ended up being a very, very good relationship. So, I'm grateful to the people of the Valley for that.
And Jerry, those relationships you talk about, so many people know you in so many different lights, whether you play golf with them or, you see them out or what have you. But, as you mentioned, those relationships in the Valley, people, and people know you in all different aspects, all different professions. They know who you are, and I always hear encouraging things and positive things about Jerry Rickrode.
Thank you very much. I really... I don't think that much about those things, though. And when you're doing the job, I think you take those type of things for granted. I was very shocked, John. When we announced that, I was going to move on to a different position within the university. When that announcement went out, within minutes, there was an abundance of texts and emails and phone calls. I really couldn't even keep up with all of them, and it was daunting. I was humbled by it, because I would never have thought that'd be the case. You get so hung up in what you do, sometimes you're not cognizant of things around you. And by no stretch am I saying that everybody likes me or anything like that, but I had a lot of people reach out, and it was humbling and appreciative.
Well, Jerry, you mentioned some of those relationships, and I'm sure, as you mentioned, some of those texts or emails or phone calls that you get, sometimes you go through some time and you're like, you forget how much of an impact that you made on a young man's life, or maybe somebody was at the college that you took some time out to help, or just different people that you quote unquote meet along the way, and those relationships are priceless.
They really are, and the people that have reached out. What you would normally think would happen did. A lot of the ex-players, alumni, I'm close with quite a few of them. And they were different types of, texts, John. They were, "Hey, Coach, are you okay?" Or, "Coach, listen, call me if you need me," those type of things. So, when I got those kind of texts from those guys, I tried to immediately get back to them to let them know, hey, I think this is a positive move for my family and myself, and I don't have any health issues or anything like that. So, you had those type of things. And then I've gotten an abundance of emails and so forth from just ex-students at Wilkes who had come to the games or that I had seen on campus, or or had been in the March Center and have watched our teams play, and they had a lot of really positive things to say. I'm shocked by it. In addition to that, coaches, colleagues, people within the Wilkes family itself that are not just alumni of basketball, but faculty and staff and retired faculty and everything else. So it was interesting, and again, I'm really appreciative of all the support.
And you get to see some of those alum and different people that are just fans of Colonel basketball that come out each and every game, whether they're 43 or 72 or 85 years old. I'm sure some of those people are going to miss seeing Jerry Rickrode on the sideline at Wilkes.
Well, some of those people, it's funny how people pass in and out of your life, but I think here at Wilkes we have, I think it's pretty special. Those people, I think I'm going to try to continue to stay in touch with. I obviously won't be known as the basketball coach anymore, but I'm sure they'll always call me coach. I want to keep those relationships going. And then you have the people that obviously you're really close with. And it's funny, I was in the office. I planned on not going into the office Friday after the announcement, but I had to go in because I just had to clear some of the emails and stuff. And I'm in there, and Mike Baruch comes by my office, my 3-man on my Final Four team, and comes in, and I hadn't gotten back to him right away, and he comes in. He just wanted to make sure everything was all right. And so we sat there and talked for quite a bit. And I really wanted to go support Chris Parker Saturday at the March Center, one of my ex-players. But, I texted him, and I said, good luck, win the game, go to States. I got to kind of stay away from the gym for a little while. He understood, and we talked for a while. So those kind of things. Dave Macedo, who, he was my first recruit here, and point guard on 2 Final 8 teams, and then my assistant on a Final 4 team. He was in the ODAC championship game today, and I sent him a text saying, hey, go out and win a championship. He got right back to me. It's special things. I think that they have done as much or more for me than I've done for them. So it's a very rewarding experience.
We're talking with Jerry Rickrode from Wilkes University. He's stepping down as the basketball coach, but will remain as a colonel in a different capacity. And Jerry, that passing along and doing something different at Wilkes, I'm sure in some ways you're a little scared about it, because everybody gets scared, whether you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s. You try something new, but at the same time, I'm sure you're very excited about it as well.
Yeah, I think both. I think you hit it right on the head, John. I mean, both ways there. Anytime you get out of college and you start in a profession, and if you're in that profession for a long period of time, like I've been doing it for 29 years at the college level, and Jesus, you think to yourself, geez, that's all I know. And of course, you're apprehensive for the next position. But my vice president of advancement, Mike Wood, we sat and talked several times, and he has assured me, look, you've got built-in qualities for this position, and I'm going to have a learning curve, obviously, but I think that I can speak to people about Wilkes, about where it was when I got here 22 years ago, where it is, and where we're headed, which I think is in a really positive direction. So we've had a fair amount of success. I think people like to talk to people that have had that. I hope that I can contribute in some small way again.
Jerry, your players that you recruited over the years, as you mentioned, you keep in touch with a lot of them still to this day, back from the 90s all the way through the 2000s. And now this current team you have. When you finally had to sit down and face your players and talk to them, was that a very challenging situation for you, something you didn't, say, hey, all right, I got to do this at this point?
I think I had rehearsed that for days, but I don't really like to rehearse things, John. I kind of like to go in and just, as I tell my players, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve. That can be good, it can be bad, but you want to be truthful, and you don't really want to rehearse it. You want to go in and say it and talk and say how you feel. And that was a difficult meeting from the standpoint that it was very emotional. And I don't know, in my adult life, John, I don't know how many times I've cried. Not many, but those guys got me to that point. So, again, I didn't know that I meant that much to them, which is good. But again, it was difficult, and I think that I reached out to the parents of those guys, many of them that I was close with, and we've had good talks. They've all been positive, and I think we're going to continue to have those relationships. The nice thing I told my players is, look, I'm still going to be here for you at Wilkes, and I would never step on the toes of the next coach, but I'll be here in every other aspect of your life when you need help. So I think that was good.
Some of the little things that people may not think about, you're always going to remember those players you had and the people at Wilkes. But sometimes it's those relationships that you have, whether it's with other coaches, athletic directors at other places. Maybe it's that security guy you've seen for the last 22 years at one of those away gyms. It's just neat stuff when you see those people. You know you're going to see them every year.
Yeah, and I think, you're right. I mean, anytime we'd go someplace, I'd walk in, either the trainer of the other school or somebody that's working in the equipment area or something, hey, Coach, how you doing? We stand there and talk for a couple minutes. I think my position at Wilkes, from the standpoint of I've done game management for football for quite a long time as well, and that's lended itself to getting to know football coaches, getting to know people that travel with them, getting to even know the athletes at the other school. I think I've had some very, very good relationships with those guys. I think as a coach, you go into battle every game, and I hate to use military terminology, but you go in and you try to, you want to win. When that game is over, win or lose, you have to handle that well. And I think that after the games, I've had good relationships with players, win or lose. I got a text from John Sobolewski the other day, who played at Kings, and then helped me out for a couple of years after he graduated from there. And, the one thing he said in my text really stood out to me. He said, Coach, after games, no matter the outcome, you'd come and say hi to me, and I'd have ice on my shoulder, and you'd say, how are you doing, win or lose? So, I think you learn a lot about people, and you can continue to have really good relationships.
And, of course, people at Wilkes learned a lot about you, and as you mentioned, your opponents learned a lot about you as well, and I think your players kind of wore what you gave them, which is a sense of competition. You always wanted to compete. You did your best, and at the end, you always shook hands, and sometimes it went your way, sometimes it didn't, and more often than not, it did go your way there at Wilkes University. Coach, you're going to be missed on many different levels. I know on my end, I'll miss talking with you. I always have some great conversations, and I wish you and your family the best of luck in your future endeavors.
John, I appreciate it. I really have enjoyed being on your show, being on the radio, and and doing the podcast with you and seeing you at games. And you can call on me at any time.
Jerry Rickrode, a special man, Wilkes University. Hey, he's still a colonel, and he'll be there in a different capacity. We wish you well, Coach. That's Jerry Rickrode from Wilkes University here on the John Mendola Show, driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers.